On the outskirts of a forgotten farming village, there stood an old, decrepit scarecrow in the middle of an overgrown cornfield. Its wooden frame was splintered, its straw-stuffed body sagging, and its burlap face was crudely painted with a twisted grin. Over the years, the scarecrow had become the subject of sinister legends whispered among the villagers. They called it Hollow Jack. No one knew who had originally built Hollow Jack, but the story went that it was cursed. Farmers claimed they heard whispers when the wind rustled the corn at night. Children who dared to approach the scarecrow said its head would turn to follow them, its button eyes glinting in the moonlight. But Evelyn didn't believe in curses. She was a bold teenager, skeptical of the tales her grandmother told her. One chilly October evening, she decided to prove the legend was nothing more than superstition. Armed with her phone flashlight, she ventured out to the cornfield under a waning crescent moon. The field was eerily quiet. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just a heavy, suffocating silence. The scarecrow loomed ahead, its grin more sinister than Evelyn remembered. "Just a bunch of straw and fabric," she muttered, brushing off a chill that ran down her spine. She raised her flashlight to examine the scarecrow up close. Its burlap face was frayed, but its eyes, they seemed to shine unnaturally, almost alive. "See? Nothing to fear," she said aloud. To prove her bravery, she reached out and knocked on its wooden arm. As her knuckles made contact, a low, creaking noise came from behind her. She froze, her heart pounding. Slowly, she turned around, her flashlight slicing through the darkness. The cornstalk swayed slightly, though there was no breeze. "Just the wind," she whispered, trying to convince herself. When she turned back, her breath caught in her throat. Hollow Jack's head had tilted, its grin wider, the buttons glinting like black holes. "You're not real," she stammered, stepping back. The scarecrow's head tilted further, and a voice, low and gravelly, echoed through the field. "Not real? Then why do you tremble?" Evelyn screamed, dropping her flashlight. The field erupted with movement as the scarecrow's arms creaked and stretched unnaturally long. Its legs, once bound by straw, now stepped forward, crunching the dry earth beneath. She ran, the cornstalks slashing at her arms and face. The heavy, deliberate steps of the scarecrow echoed behind her. The farther she ran, the thicker the corn seemed to grow, trapping her in an endless maze. "Why run, Evelyn?" the voice mocked. "You woke me. Stay and play." Finally, she burst out of the cornfield and into the safety of the village. Breathless and trembling, she looked back. The scarecrow stood at the edge of the field, motionless once more. Its grin, however, was unmistakably wider. That night, Evelyn locked every door and window in her house. But when she glanced out her bedroom window, her blood ran cold. Hollow Jack was standing in her backyard, staring up at her window, its arms spread wide in mockery of an embrace. By morning, Evelyn was gone. The only clue was a trail of straw leading from her house back to the cornfield. The scarecrow stood in its usual place, but now its grin bore a new addition, a small carved E stitched into its burlap face. The villagers whispered a new warning. "Hollow Jack doesn't just scare away crows, it collects the brave."